Hello, everybody. Suzanne Hacker here, your vacation rental business coach with Welcoming Wow. And I am here with Maddie or Madison from Mount. Maddie, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, first of all, and then your journey, like what led you to here today?
Yes, absolutely. Hi, everyone. I am Maddie. I am the CEO and co-founder of Mount, essentially a new software in the short-term rental space that really focuses on amenities and upselling and getting past upselling early check-in and late checkout, but getting to the meat and potatoes of everything else at your property. I have been an entrepreneur since I was about 12 years old. So I've been in the thick of it, I guess, for a while. But I guess oddly enough, Mount started as a bike lock company. So we were building hardware and locks and all this crazy stuff, but led me on a journey that had 8 or 9 pivots to the business. We dropped the lock name, we became Mount, ended up in short-term rentals, and now are upselling.
Nice. And are you just focused on short-term rentals?
That was our immediate focus, and then kind of got pulled into the hotel space as well. Similar problems, both wanting to upsell more. And then the grand vision for Mount probably 5 years from now is to have this upselling and amenities in every single piece of private property. So it could be multifamily, it could be office, commercial, short-term rentals, hotels, everything.
Nice. I love that. And yeah, I love the word pivot. That was like my word of the year was pivot, and I think as entrepreneurs, we're always like pivoting a little bit just to partly find our niche, and it's definitely what you've done with Mount. So that's awesome. So you started the business and you're in New York, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And your background, obviously, now when we first met, you mentioned that you had taken an entrepreneurship course. Was that in college or high school?
Both. I did one in high school that was awesome. And then I actually ended up studying entrepreneurship as my major at Northeastern in Boston.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's great.
I learned a ton. I basically was building this company Mount while I was going to school, but using my classes to really leverage and use my time wisely.
So tell people a little bit of how Mount works specifically.
So Mount works the exact same way that you would either rent a Bird or Lime scooter, or if you've seen a docked bike around town, it's the exact same technology where there's QR codes on things, there's GPS trackers, and an invisible fence around whatever you want to rent. So we took that technology and basically made it possible at your property. So let's say if you want an electric bike that you want your guests to be able to rent, you would list the amenity on Mount's platform, which is basically 5 steps telling us what it is, what is the make and model, and like what do you want to name it, and you order your QR code and GPS tracker. Then when you're at the property, you put on the GPS tracker that we have shipped you, a lock, whether it be a cable lock or a U-lock, whatever has a combination on it. And then it's there on your property, and now your guests can rent it. It's working. So the guests would just go and scan the QR code, create an account, and then they would pay for it, opt in for insurance, all that great stuff. And then they're renting it either by the day, by the hour, going around wherever they want because it's GPS tracked, but they can't end their rental in the app until they're back within that threshold of that invisible fence.
Okay, awesome. Now, is it truly like an invisible fence, or is it more just like a geographical spot of where it's supposed to be tracked by the GPS
spot? Yeah, so you don't have to like install wiring and stuff.
Right, that's how I was like, is it really? Okay.
No, but that was like the best context I could give.
No, I get it. It makes perfect sense now. So what all are the different types of things? So I know a lot of times vacation rental owners, they may have bicycles and maybe a scooter, depending on the city. More out in the country or near lakes, can you do kayaks?
Kayaks is a great one. Paddle boards is another great one.
How about golf carts?
So we don't do golf carts right now. I mean, you can do it on the platform. It's just we won't insure it.
Okay.
Just because it gets really expensive, and our policy covers everything else, just not golf carts or cars. Sure. They're a bit more dangerous.
Of course.
But theoretically, your property insurance, if you have a golf cart, should cover that liability. So you
Okay.
can still rent it and pay for it through the platform.
Okay.
But you could do golf clubs. That's another one. It's like all
That's
this
what-
stuff guests don't really want to travel with, but would like to be able to rent conveniently. So in some
Yeah.
areas of Florida, it's beach equipment like chairs,
Yeah.
towels, umbrellas, all that stuff.
Mhm.
In other areas, it could be firewood, so a purchasable amenity.
Okay.
And yeah, that's what we're looking at right now.
Okay. That's awesome. So, what really drew you though back in the day to doing this? And then what really made you pivot from the bike locks, if you will,
Yeah.
to where you're at today?
Yeah, so the bike locks, that was more of a passion project that I started when I was 12. My school had an innovation program similar to what Shark Tank, I guess, is now, except back then that Shark Tank did exist.
Okay.
So we basically spent 6 months prototyping and building, and then at the end got to pitch to a panel of judges. So I did that when I was 12, crazy experience, got a patent for it that they paid for. So that was more of a passion project. I mean, I think when I did that in college and started out as Mount Locks, we did it for about a year and a half, and then realized, okay, we created a cool lock, but was there really a problem here? And the answer to that question was no. Like the locks out there are great. Why did someone need a new one?
Nice.
So that was like one thing we ran up against. And then also hardware, no one wants to fund it. It's really expensive to create. And so that was kind of our first aha moment where it's like, okay, I want to continue on Mount. I had self-funded it. I wasn't giving up yet. And we needed to find an industry that had an actual need for our lock or like a problem. And so right when I was having that kind of like aha moment, the scooter industry became like a thing. You know, scooters were popping up in Santa Monica. That was about it. And everyone was like, what is a bird? I was like, all right, they're leaving scooters in the middle of nowhere. They probably need locks. Let me just fly to their office, because I was in Boston, and see what happens. And so I did that, and the hunch was correct. They did need locks. The governments were starting to require it, and they had no idea how to tackle that problem. So there was an actual problem there. So for about a year and a half, we worked with the scooter companies trying to outfit locks and really create that infrastructure, and got pretty far. But then COVID-19 hit, and all of those companies cut their innovation programs. They cut their staff by 50%. It was a very hard hit industry, albeit there were a lot of those. But
Mount, the only one.
Mount Locks didn't really have a place in the industry anymore. And so I was like, all right, new problem, new solution. What can we do here? And I think the biggest learning from that industry was their customer base was tourists. It was people coming and wanting a fun kind of adventure. It wasn't commuters. And I was like, okay, we can do this in a much better way. Picked up what we had left from that industry, a few scooters, a few locks, and brought them to the Airbnb world, short-term rentals. I was actually driving around Colorado middle of COVID with scooters in my trunk. I'm like, hi, do you guys want these?
Nice.
So that's how that started. And then by working with a few of those amazing people, actually shout out to Ellie Paget, who is the founder and CEO and amazing person of Home Slice Stays in Phoenix, Arizona.
Nice.
And all around now, she's amazing. She was our first person to say yes to our crazy scooter idea. And she was actually the one who helped create the better idea for Mount, where it wasn't, can we rent scooters? But it was more the problem where it's like, I need new revenue streams. I need to rent and upsell. And there's nothing that allows me to do that. And so because of these amazing first customers, we actually were able to find a real problem. And then turns out we had the solution to the problem, which was good too.
Right? That's awesome. Nicely done.
Yeah.
Very good for you. So what do you think is the best feature of Mount?
I'd say it's a combination of three. And I think it's actually the pain points as to why people don't do this. The first big one is a payment tool. I'd say that's one of the harder ones to crack, just because right now you either go through your booking platform and just add on another $40 charge, ask them for a Venmo, sometimes ask for cash. Like there's no good process for that. Unless it's an early check-in or late checkout, like that's easy to monetize.
Sure.
But the other stuff, not so much. So that's one thing Mount really solves, is that payment tool. You just hook up your bank account and get your direct deposit at the end of the month with everything. You don't have to manage it. And I'd say the second big one is insurance. That's actually we're the only company in the industry right now, which I think is a large claim, but I'm going to make it, that has this insurance policy that really covers injury liability for these amenity rentals when they leave the property. There's great insurance you can get via property insurance that covers what happens at your property, but I guess the gray area is when someone pays for it by you and then leaves the property, what happens if they hurt themselves? That's what Mount really stepped up to the plate. We created an insurance policy for that specific use case. And I think it was a big reason why people weren't doing this. It's hard to understand insurance. I don't think the property insurance explains it quite well. Sometimes they'll be like, yeah, we cover the kayak rentals, like go for it. And then you get into the knee-deep weeds of it and you're like, oh shit, no, they don't.
Or you have a claim or something that happens,
Exactly.
and then you're like, shoot.
Or they give you the party line where it's like, oh, have them sign a terms and conditions rental sheet and you'll be okay. And you need both. You can't have just a waiver. Plus, how are you getting them to sign that waiver? Like all that stuff.
Like a true
so we automated that whole process. So even actually through our app, they sign the terms and conditions rental sheet and all that stuff.
Okay, that's awesome. Marvelous. So big question, how do interested property managers or homeowners of vacation rentals or short-term rentals, how do they get signed up? Where do they go? What do they do?
So the easiest way to get in touch with us is to go on our website and create a free account. It's super easy. Just put in your email and your phone number. That allows you to create an account and gives you access to everything amazing that's at Mount. So in that account, you can go into your toolkit, which will show you amenity recommendations that we recommend for your property type, your location. You can, even if you're ready to go, click list an amenity within your account and create a bike, a beach bundle, whatever it may be, order those QR codes I was talking about. Or you can sign up within that account, reach out to like one of our team members who will get on an amenity consultation call with you. So I'd say that's the first step, is like go to our website and create an account. And then from there, we can help you with everything.
And the website again is?
Rentmount.com.
Okay, awesome. So you said create a free account. What fees are there in there for the vacation rentals or short-term rentals?
So right now, it's to get started, you create your account. And then if you want to list amenities, the only fee right now to get started is you have to pay for every QR code you order, just so we don't have people ordering hundreds and not using them.
Sure.
So you pay that, it's like $250 depending on shipping. And then from there, you get to keep 100% of your revenue that your amenity generates. So if you need to buy new bikes, you can do that through us, get them, and now you're renting them. Say it's $10 an hour, you're keeping that $10. But what the traveler sees is a 20% markup. So they'll rent it for $12 an hour. That's our money. That's our fee. So we don't pass it to you guys. We pass it to the traveler because they have better margins than a property manager. And then for anything that needs insurance, like our SaaS fee, it's anywhere from $5 to $15 a month when it's being rented. The bigger ticket items that have a lot of liability attached to them, the electric ones, the motors, the kayaks, all that stuff is $15 a month. Beach bundles, anything that doesn't necessarily need insurance, but you're still using the software, that's like about $5 a month.
Okay. All right, cool. So you've gotten to know quite a few owners or property managers in the industry now in the last year or two. So tell us a little bit about what would be your best piece of advice to vacation rental owners or property managers as they're looking to grow their business?
You know, I think the one that strikes or comes to mind is when Clubhouse was a thing, I was on that a lot. And there was this one owner speaking. He had one property in Canada, but it was a big one. It was like an 8-10 bedroom. And he would basically curate each person's stay, but he put together packages. So he's like, do you want the family fun package, the bachelorette package, you know, whatever it was. And he had these relationships built with everyone. And so his one property off of bookings was making probably 500,000 a year. That's not accurate, but you know, context, something like that.
It's big. Yeah.
The revenue he made from all of the upselling, just by putting together these packages and doing it manually, was close to $1 million a year. That was his take. And so that's, I think, the piece of advice that stuck with me, or the one I took out of that, is like, whether it's one property, 10, 15, 20, like you should not be leaving this upselling money, this revenue on the table. Like you should be able to do it, but I get it. What he's doing is not repeatable. That is only possible for one property, maybe two.
Yeah.
If you have a portfolio of 50, you have to find a way to automate that. So that's really where Mount comes in. But that would be my big piece of advice is there's a lot of money in this industry, specifically when it comes to upselling, amenities, all that stuff. And you're foolish not to tap into it.
Nice. All right. So is there one question that I didn't ask you today that you really want to make sure and let potential customers know?
Not so much a question, but I do have one more piece of advice that came to mind.
Yeah.
For all of the people that are looking to get started or looking to grow your portfolio or just find better software tools, but maybe you don't have time to go to all the conferences. There is a great tool kit out there, I guess you could call it. They're called the Book Direct Playbooks. Mark from Boostfully wrote the first one. I think there's another one. And then this last one that's coming out in December is he got a group of like 20 vendors together to all talk about specific areas of your property and software that you could help upgrade and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
that was one of the biggest pieces of advice someone gave me, is like, just read as much as you can.
I was like trying to find my book.
Yeah, I'm like, so that would be a great place to get started, would be with those ones. There it is. Yeah, so he's
This one.
that one.
I knew I had it.
There you go. So I'd say that's a good place to get started. Just read as much as you can.
Yeah, it's so true. I know when I first started in the industry a few years ago, it's just research, research, research. And then even once you launch, it's still, more research, reading on your platforms, wherever it is you're listed. If you were doing that with short-term rental owners or, property managers and things like that, that was probably very helpful. But there's still, there's a lot of groups out there, whether it's Facebook, or LinkedIn and things like that, that have these groups built in that people can also join. So it's very similar, to how that Clubhouse would be if they just actually get involved in them.
Yeah, no, I think Facebook
Awesome.
is a great resource. The groups, the ones I like are regional specific. So you could go
Sure.
and get a group started for Denver, Colorado. That one probably already exists, but
Sure. That's a good point. Okay. Good point. All right. No, any last parting words for the viewers?
I don't
Or
think
just
so.
go get started.
Yeah, go get started. Keep making the money.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us today, Maddie. I really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, first of all. So I'm sure I'll be touching base as we have more questions.